Okay. Hi guys. I am really excited to finally get the Zoom on going. It's been on my mind for a while and finally it's here. So I'm very excited. We're going to be interviewing Amy Farthing, and I love Amy. She is such an inspirational person. She has an amazing heart, and she's always my go-to person when I want to, put some fire in us and just like get inspired. So, uh, Amy, I'm going to let her do a quick introduction of herself and how long she's been with It Works and why she started and a little bit of her journey, and then we'll get into some other questions. So take it away, Amy.
Okay. I'm Amy Farthing. I am in Stanton, Virginia. So if I have a little bit of a country accent, that's why. Small town in Virginia. And I started because I, okay. So I never, ever thought I would want to be a stay-at-home mom, like ever. And, when I was a special education teacher, I had gone back to school later in life to get a master's degree to be able to teach. And I loved teaching. And then we got pregnant with our first daughter. And like right up until she was born, I was just super set on going back to school. And I was like, I'm not even really sure I'll take the whole 6 weeks off. Like, I just might pop this baby out and head on back to school. Like, being a mom was not like something I had dreamed of my whole life, etc. And then, she arrived, and that night in the hospital, I was like, I can never go back to school. This cannot happen ever. And I will never forget this. This was back in 2010, and the economy was not great at that time. So I was told that if I took a leave of absence from school, that they could not guarantee that I would have a position to go back to. And my husband is a high school counselor, and we just, two people in education, both with master's degrees, both with student loan debt, because, to get a master's degree in education doesn't really pay off that much because you don't really get a big pay raise to go back. And so there was just no way that we could afford just one salary, especially without the guarantee that there would be something waiting for me when I went back. And I will never forget, listening to this person in human resources pretty much control my whole life. And I hated it. But I went back to school, was super thankful for breaks, spring breaks, Christmas break, summer break. But I spent those breaks worrying about going back to school. And I can remember just sitting in the parking lot of a grocery store on a Saturday, dreaming of what it would be like to go on like a Tuesday, because I could. And, but we made it work, and it was fine. Like I said, luckily as a teacher, you do have extra time off. And then when we found out that I was pregnant with our second daughter, Claire, it was the day after the Sandy Hook school shooting, and I was actually homesick. And that lit a fire in me like nothing I've ever known before. And I was determined that I was going to find a way to stay home. And we had Claire in August. And when I left school in June, I knew I was not going back. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew I was not going back. And I actually started a jewelry business and spent $1,300 to do that, because if you're going to sell jewelry, you better have jewelry to show people. And you can tell I'm so fancy. I don't wear jewelry. And so that was it was not a good fit for me. It was a great company. It was a Christian company, but it always felt like I was begging people to buy stuff because I wasn't passionate about it. And, my mom, God bless her, like she bought every piece of jewelry possible. I'm like, you just don't need another necklace, Mom. but even to have people have parties, and you had to have parties, you couldn't enter an order just on its own. It had to be a part of a party, and you had to give the jewelry out to people and get it to the hostess. It was just, well. And so, a friend of mine who I have known since literally kindergarten, we went through kindergarten all the way through college together. She hosted a party for me, and she had started with It Works, and she hosted the party for me so that she eventually could tell me about It Works, which looking back now makes me laugh. But, she told me about it and I'm like, oh, $99? Sure. I just spent $1,300. Like, why not? But, I was far more stressed out about spending $100 to join It Works than I was the $1,300 for jewelry. And, looking back now, that fear was absolutely the devil, because he didn't want me to get involved with this, because he knew there was no future for me in the jewelry, but he knew that what was going to come from this was something that he did not want to have happen. So, I started, and I sucked at everything. I didn't use the products. I was a little snot. I was too good for the products. I didn't need a wrap. I didn't want to use the greens. I didn't take the time to learn about anything. I was posting, these ridiculous, very ad type posts. And I was the girl that signed her parents both up, thinking they would count as two different people, so I could get my four customers. And the only reason I got my 4 customers was because my friend Lynn and my enroller gave me 2 customers. And then I quit. About 6 weeks in, I quit, and I said, I'm not a doctor. I don't know. Like, I can't tell people what stuff to use. This is unsafe. And my husband said, that's good, because it's all snake oil.
Oh gosh.
And yeah, and so I didn't like fully cancel out or anything, but I wasn't running an auto shipment. I definitely wasn't clued into anything. I wasn't paying attention, but I was still breastfeeding and was still up at night with our infant Claire. And I saw Beth Taylor, who was one of our uplines. She had posted, if you started with It Works and you want to come back, I want to hear from you. And it just got me thinking, and I just kept hearing this, what if? And, the day after, or soon after I saw that post from Beth, 2 people contacted me about wraps in the same day. And I was not posting anything. And it's not like I had posted long before. And I mean, this was like almost a 2-month gap from the time that I had done any sort of marketing, to the time that they contacted me. And so I took that as a sign, and I came back, and I just, thought about what I was doing and tried to learn and clued in. We could watch Conference Live that year for the first time. That was in 2015. And I watched, and I was like, I'm going to do this thing. But it did not go smoothly, for sure, for me. I promoted to Ruby. So I joined September of 2014. I promoted to Ruby February of 2015, to Emerald May of 2015. And then all that fell apart. That was a hot mess. And, the following January, conference was in January at that time of 2016. I said to myself, I need to go to conference to see if I'm meant to do this. Like, I didn't want to go. I had never left our 18-month-old at the time. It made me sick to spend the money to go, but I went because I felt like it was the final straw. Like, I had to go. And then I went, and that's when the $20,000 double good bonuses were released. And I left there knowing I would go diamond. I did go diamond in March, double diamond in May, and then all fell apart. So, for 4 years almost, I promoted to double diamond in May. I lost it in June. And then for 4 years, I fought to come back. Thought about quitting another time. Gabby is one of the main, God spoke to me hugely through her in a time that I just, I saw people leaving, people that I respected. I saw them leaving. I saw them going to other companies that made it look flashier and easier and glittery and glitzy. And I just kept hearing, then what? It's all the same thing. Then what? Like, this is what I've brought to you. And luckily Gabby was sort of the final, like, don't do it. And all of that.
I think we all went through that same period of, do we leave? Should we leave? But I think we were in the same boat too. It's like, okay, if I leave, then what? I have to start again.
Exactly. And eventually, the newness is going to wear off, and you're in the same thing, doing the same thing. And it's, and that was when Mark Pentecost was diagnosed with multiple myeloma, and it was a really difficult time for the company, a lot of uncertainty. And so I decided to stay. And in deciding to stay, I decided that I was going to become the most consistent person that I knew. And I was going to become robotic about what I had to get done every single day. And there were no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I had to get it done. And it was not a fast climb, you guys. Literally in the Triple Diamond chart, there is one person who was in my diamond chart. One. And it took time and it was hard, but it was worth every single second of it. And I learned so much in the journey. And then, I did not re-rank to double diamond until the month I went triple. And just re-ranking to double diamond, I think it's possible that re-ranking to double meant more to me than actually promoting to triple.
And a lot of it had to do with the restructure of our compensation plan or of our ranks, right? Just because it makes it a lot easier.
It simplifies it so much.
Yeah.
But I'm a huge fan of Ren Collective, and as soon as I saw that, I was at February of this year, my goal was to re-rank to double diamond, and it didn't happen, and I cried. And the thing is don't ever give up, because you never know what's right there. Like, it didn't happen, the re-ranking. I was so bummed. But the next month, not only did the re-ranking come, but the promotion to triple came as well. And you just never know. And guys, we were not close. On the 25th of March, we needed over 10,000 BB to get to the minimum BB needed. So we were not close. And we pulled it off. So there's that.
Yay! I think out of everyone's promotions that we had in our team, I think yours is the one that actually just made me happier than normal, and actually made me cry, because we've been through it all. We saw it fall apart, and then for you just to come back on top and not giving up and not leaving, because we had that option of whether should we leave or should we stay. So your story is truly one of the the dark horse, the underdog, and just coming back, and I appreciate everything you do, and I just love you.
Just clear, last year at conference, when Mark had us stand in the arena and say, "I'm the dark horse," seriously, I'm yelling, "I'm the dark horse," and in my head I'm like, I'm not the freaking dark horse. I knew last year, I was like, this is absurd. You are not the dark horse. I knew last year was not going to be it. I knew that it was rebuilding and it was going to be hard. And guys, just to let you know, I looked back this time last year, March, April, May, this time last year, I was paid as a Ruby. I was making $300 a month doing this. So don't doubt what God can do in a year, because I've learned that he does not do math the same way that we do math. It's so hard because he's so much bigger than we are. And so we think very limiting thoughts. And it's hard not to do that, but just trust the process. Just trust the process. Do your part. There you go.
Yeah. What switched? I'm pretty sure a lot of it also had to do mentality wise. Yeah. What switched from last year? There must have been a point where it just kind of you just had that mental switch towards okay, I'm gonna do this. Talk a little bit about that.
The biggest thing was personal development, and I did not do that for probably the first. I've been in for almost 6 years. I did not do that truly for probably the first 4 years. But the thing, because I was this is not an income producing activity. I can send messages and actually sign up a customer. So why am I going to read? What's the point in that? But the thing is when you do personal development, you hold on to things that you're going to need in the future, that are going to make sense to you later, that you're going to be able to call upon when it's hard, that are going to, you know, bring you up when you need a little bit of a lift, that you're going to be able to share with other people. The March 30th, we were, you know, it was sort of close, but not really. At that point, we still needed probably like 6,000 BV on the 30th of March. And, you know, my husband said to me, it was a weekend, and he was like, "What are you doing today?" And I was like, "Working." And he was really frustrated by that. And all you've done all month is work. And, you know, he and our daughters went to an amusement park. Are you okay with me telling the story? My daughter's sitting right here. And it was devastating for me. I cried for hours. Legit, my eyes were swollen for days after, because that is like the hardest thing for me is separating from my family and saying no to the good so that you can have the great. And in that time of crying, this remembrance flooded into me, which made me cry harder. But my very first conference I went to, I was sitting there thinking, you know, I haven't had my aha moment. Like everybody says when you go to conference, like you have these big moments. And it was Cammie, who was at that time still a distributor. And she said, "You're going to miss things with your family. You're going to miss the plays, and you're going to miss athletic events, and you're going to miss time. And that's okay, because sometimes you have to sacrifice now for what you want in the future." And that flooded back to me, which made me sob, because I was like, oh my gosh, like 5 years ago, God gave me that I could call upon right now in this moment when he knew I would need it the most.
Right.
And I did. I stayed. And it was hard for my daughters. They wanted me to go, and they didn't really understand why. And it was hard for my husband because he didn't understand why. And, you know, because at no point did I say to him, you know, we're probably going to be making $10,000 if we can just pull this off. Because, and that's another thing I didn't even say in, like 7 days out. I don't even know if it was that far out, but my original plan of who I thought would be the double diamond in this chart, it just became very clear that that was not going to happen. That, you know, she was going through, this was the one person that was in my chart when I went diamond. But, you know, Courtney has had an extraordinarily difficult year with family health. She's also a special education teacher. And it just became very evident that I thought that was going to be the double diamond leg, and God very clearly said it should be your husband. And his team was exploding. So all of a sudden, somebody who literally was ranking as a ruby when we went into March, I'm like, "Hey, Kim, so let's get you to double diamond instead of diamond this month, okay?" And she's like, "Well, sure." And we pulled that off too. She triple promoted in a
Wow.
month. So, and Jeff earned a $15,000 bonus, along with my $25,000 bonus. Like, just, you know, so you know, being able to reflect and do the personal development matters so much. Something that I heard Pam Souter say on a podcast is stop trying to re-rank. There's nothing that's motivating or attractive about re-ranking. Re-ranking is disappointing, and re-ranking is not helpful. You are moving to the next rank. If you are trying to re-rank to diamond, you better get out what the next level is and stop it. Even if you're not close, start looking at the next promotion rather than what you're trying to get back to. And then in like November, I watched a live or a Zoom that I think Morgan McIntyre led, about the decision to promote. And it was then that I was like, okay. And y'all, I was not close to triple, nowhere close to triple. Even after they changed the charts, I still needed like 29 DTs
Wow.
to fill the triple chart. I was not close at all. And it, you know, I decided I have here right behind me, like I have my goal, this whole thing, you know, and I'd heard this so many times, write your goals down, put them in front of you. And I'm like, blah, blah, blah. And then it's amazing when you actually like follow the advice of people, it actually works. It's
Yeah.
amazing. I bought a pair of sparkly tennis shoes and I wrote Triple Diamond across the back of them. And I wore those suckers everywhere. And I still wear them everywhere. And I now have a pair of sparkly flip-flops that say Presidential Diamond on them. Just things like that. I started journaling every day. I heard Kay Souter, Pam's daughter, talk about creating a mantra for yourself where you are repeating the same things to yourself every day. And I write the same stuff every day. It was at the top, we are Triple Diamond forever. And now it's we are Presidential Diamond. Like you can legit see it's the same thing every day. I write it every day. We're debt free. We are making we have over 5 figures in our savings account. We have 20 plus people on our team that are making at least 4 figures. What else? My husband works because he wants to. We give back as much right now as I made in a year of teaching. All of these things are goals of mine, and I write them down every single day. She also said to clean out your wallet because if it's cluttery in there, there's no room for money. So I did that too. Just all of the things. So personal development was massive. Like I said, because if you're not getting your mind right, you're never gonna make it here. I have decided that the rises and the falls are part of it. And I have warned my husband, like, by no means, I'm a very positive person. So by no means am I bringing negativity, but I cannot guarantee that we will always be at triple and double diamond. I can't guarantee we'll keep those ranks because there's a lot of people involved and I can't control all of the people. But I also know there will be a day that we're presidential and ambassador. But you know, rolling with it is part of it. And if you don't have your mind right, you're not going to be able to take the good with the bad because they're both going to come. They just are. So anyway.
I love that. And it's so funny how you know we always talk about personal development and like you said it's like blah 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 blah.
Yep.
You know this, but it's just it does make a huge difference, and you're living proof that it does. You know, once you started doing that personal development,
Yep.
journaling, getting your mind right. You know, we always talk about this, but it's sometimes it's hard to actually to do it. You just need to like just do it and like shut up and just do it already.
Right.
But I love that. I'm so glad that you touched up on that personal development and getting your mind right and and having visuals of where your goals are. And we always talk about we have goals, but what is your action? What is your action plan? Is that something that you work on as well, like having an action plan in order for you and your team?
Oh, absolutely. And I think another critical thing about goals is having a date with them. Because if you don't have a date, you don't actually, because I didn't have a date to Triple Diamond until like November, December of last year. And the date that I set is the date that hit March 31st of 2019 is what I would write. Like, because all of these journal entries, let's see. Hold on, let me get back to where it says triple. All right. Yeah. So see, we are Triple Diamond, and then it says the date here, and I would write it over and over again. And the thing is, like I said, you cannot control everything. All you can do is take action and do the best that you can, and decide that you're going to leave it all on the table. You're going to leave everything. In March, I was like, I will not leave this month wondering if I had done this, if it could have been that. And it's so important to have that date. If you have to alter the date, that's okay. I have a really good friend, Nikki Fountain, who she's personally enrolled by the Duns, and we've become good friends through all of this. And her goal was triple in March, and she didn't hit it, but she did hit it last month. She hit it in April, and it's okay to alter a timeline.
Right.
You don't give up on it. You just alter the timeline. But once you set the timeline and you're working so hard to get there, it makes it doable the following month. Like the work is never for naught. But if you don't have that date, I just don't think you have the same commitment to your goal. I really don't. And absolutely action plan. You know, when the $20 codes were, or the $20 things were released at conference, where if you would run an order or if you had a conference ticket, you know, you got those 7 codes or whatever. I got them for myself. I got them for Jeff. I got them for my mom. And I was determined that I would not leave that month until I had used every single one of those codes. And I used every single one of those codes and a couple from Upline. And I just decided, you know, Ashley Mayfield just did an amazing Zoom about that. You decide. And once you decide, you don't allow yourself to entertain anything else. I mean, of course, through the month of March, I had doubts, but once you decide, it's like God, the universe, whatever you want to believe, won't let you think anything otherwise. You know, like long about the 15th, I was like, I don't know if this is happening. Like, we were so far, like well over 20,000 BB away from minimums. And I'm like, I don't even know. And Mira Denning, who is a presidential diamond, she very graciously allows me to be in her team page so that I can watch what she does as a leader. She is one of my people. And she had Courtney Sharp in her team page, hyping everybody up about promotions. And I watched that live. And I was like, you know what? We totally can do this. We totally can do this. And then I got to see Courtney Sharp in Asheville at the event that was held the end of March. And I got to talk to her, and she looked me in the face and she was like, you're going to pull this off. I know you are. Like, I have no doubt that you're going to pull this off. So it's like once you decide, stuff just starts happening. Like there's no way that you're orchestrating this or have control over this. And I remember the last day of the month, we were still 5,000 BV, and I went to church and I did what I was supposed to do. I wasn't going to skip church that day. I was not. And I went to church and I came home and just nothing was happening. And I'm like, we're so close. And then all of a sudden at like 3:30, it was like, and I remember sitting in this chair, looking out that door with full realization that I was not the one that was sailing this ship at all. I was very much in the co-pilot seat, like, thanks God. Okay. Like these orders that were coming in of 200, 300 plus BV, I was like, okay.
Wow.
And like I said, it was bananas. A teammate who promoted to diamond needed, you have to have that 150p, that personal volume credit thing, whatever. And she needed like 120 PBV. And I'm like, you might want to cancel your boyfriend's loyal customer account and re-sign him under you and just make the order. Okay. And I swear to you, she's like, I'm talking to a customer. The customer comes in and orders like 130 BV of product.
Wow.
Like, as we're talking, and that happened maybe the second to last, like maybe the 29th. And I was just like, okay, God, like I see saying, you got this, like, just calm down. Like, it's under control. Keep the faith, do your part, get it done. And it just thing after thing after thing like that just had no explanation other than
right. And let's talk a little bit about that, about volume, because I think that's something, of course, you know, in order for us to promote, we need volume. It's not just about enrolling distributors, but and I'll go back to distributors in a bit, but how did you, because it's not something, like you said, it was the last day, all of these orders were coming through, but you know, it wasn't something that you were doing that day that, you know, just, you know, all of this volume started pouring out of nowhere. You know, I'm assuming it's something that you had done consistently the whole month. Yeah. So let's talk about volume. What are some things that you and your team are doing to get some volume? Are you doing host to post?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Host to post.
Are you targeting specific people and messaging them, or are you just doing it like, are you just making a post and then from there take it, you know, what exactly are you doing for volume?
Both. There
Okay.
are months. There are months. This month has proven to be that so far, where I'm getting very few comments on the whole. We're giving away $100. Comment here if you want an entry. Just not getting a whole bunch of people. One of my, you asked me about my non-negotiables. Host to post is a non-negotiable for me. I typically don't put any up on Sundays, just because I don't work quite as much on Sundays. And I try to have that be sort of a catch-up day. I go back and check post to post that I've done throughout the week to make sure I'm not missing people. It's sort of just a cleanup day for me. But my non-negotiable is to have at least 3 new host to posts up every day. So I have to ask at least 10 people typically to do that. And sometimes it's more if I don't hear back and people don't actually get them up. But if I don't have 10 people to ask from, sign here to get your entry or whatever, I will absolutely go and just start messaging people and say, hey, if you, and I don't, if you're willing to put up this quick post for me, and I'd say what it's about, because lots of times people are like, so what's this random post going to be about? And if you just tell them it's about, this metabolism vitamin that's changing lives, and I can get you entered into our giveaway for da, 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 da. I have found that that's helpful if you kind
If
of
you're up
bait
front,
with
yeah.
the whole, yeah, I'm giving this away and you get an entry for that. It's for sure easier when you can just go down a list of people that have commented. But yeah, I absolutely, like I said, it's a non-negotiable for me to get 3 up in a day, and whatever's got to get done to have that happen, it gets done, period.
Right.
So yes, host to post, that's something that we train new people on. I think, like, maybe we have a training group, and it's a series of 14 videos that I made back in like October, November, something like that. I just felt very compelled to get some sort of a system down, because I felt like there was going to be a time that I was not going to be able to personally touch all of the people on the team, that it was going to become so big that I wanted a place where even new people could add people and not be worried about what they knew or didn't know, that there
Right.
was a system in place. And Connect now, Connect we've upgraded so much in the last few months about getting new DTs trained as a company, which has been amazing. But host to post is I think it's day 2 of the thing. Like, that's how we launch people, is get them doing host to post.
Okay.
Because it grows your network very generically, very authentically, without having to send 100 messages to random people, or 100 friend requests to random people. And then it just gets you talking to people. And I think it's easier to be told no by a stranger than it is to be told no by your warm market. I think there's a lot less pain that comes from a stranger telling you no than from Aunt Sue telling you no.
Right.
So host to post has been huge for us.
And that's
And very,
so when
very,
you go, I'm sorry. So going back to when you first sign up a distributor, you talked a little bit about that process. You take them through the 14, through a little training, right? Can you
yes.
talk just a little bit more about that? How once you enroll a distributor, how do you get them started? How do you get them pumped up so that they don't lose that spark?
Honestly, I don't know that there's any way to do that. Like, a lot of that is each person's personal thing. And the people that go through the training, I can tell, because they ask me questions that make sense. And I'm like, oh, they've obviously watched the trainings. And the people that don't watch it just sit there not knowing what to do. When people first start, I send their website to them. I send their ID number and their password if I have it, and obviously I have their ID number. If I have their password, I send that to them. And it's a message that briefly talks about my excitement that they've joined the company, and that, I want them to tell me what their why is. If they haven't already done that, I want them to tell me what their why is. And I want them to tell me what their income goal is, so that I have an idea of what we're looking at here. If they're looking at just getting their products covered, I sort of have an idea of how hard to push them. But it's so different. And And I think one of the things to know for sure is when you're enrolling people, their success has very little to do with you. So you need to release the pressure and the guilt that you might carry with that, because it does. I have two people that joined last night. The one has already signed customers. She's been messaging people all day. And she's got like two people who are going to sign on the 15th. Somebody's signing up tonight. All I'm doing is answering questions that she's asking me. She was in Connect immediately, and she means business about doing well with this. The other person, I think, is going to be good too, but she's sort of moving a little more slowly. And then there's people who sign up and don't ever message you back. Right. It doesn't have to do people's, and that's why I've tried to convey that to my teammates, because they're like so stressed that they can't get a distributor, and it's like, and they're holding all of this like weight on their shoulders that, you know, they've got to help this person be. I'm like, all that you are a messenger. You are delivering this information to people. And yes, you want to be there to help and to coach them and cheer them on, but you've got to release this pressure that you've got to make them successful, because you're like, that's what you're putting out there is stress and worry about what we have here, and people can sense that. They certainly can sense that. So, you know, just breathe, and it's going to be okay. And one of my favorite sayings, Pam says it all the time, is you can't say the wrong thing to the right person, and you can't say the right thing to the wrong person. And, you know, I did a live today for my team about the $99 kits being back, because so many of them came in at $20, and it's like they don't think that they can enroll somebody for $99. And I'm like, you need to understand the value of what we have here. You can't start a business anywhere for $99. You can't take a job at McDonald's without spending probably $99 or more on uniform, on shoes, on getting to and from work. Like, we forget that, and we think that $100 is a burden, and it's not. Right. It's not at all. I mean, they spend $100 and they get 2 bags of keto coffee that they can turn around and sell for $150. Like, right. I mean, it is a no-brainer at $20, at $45, $49, at $99. It's a no-brainer across the board. And personally, I think people who come in at $99 have a different level of investment than people who come in at $20. The right. people who come at $20 take their product for $20 and they're like, later. Not all of them. Not all of them.
But most of them.
Right. Because I enrolled an amazing group of people with $20, but not all of them. And, you know, those of us who were around for the $9.99 kits learned a valuable lesson that you do not encourage people to come get cheap products. Think, right. Oh, they're going to be a distributor. They're going to love the products, and they'll become a distributor and create these fake charts of nobody working. Right. Because that is, you know, everybody keeps saying the promotions are easier. They're not. It is more simplified, but you cannot, with these promotions, you cannot have a bunch of fakers. You cannot have a fake chart, because those minimum BVs have to be met. So you need to have people pulling their weight. And if you don't, you need to stack underneath them so that you have, you know, 2-3 people who are combining to get that 400 or 500 BV that's needed in each box. So
it was so strange. To this morning when I woke up and I logged into I went straight to my website, and I, you know, just out of curiosity to see if maybe, you know, the promotions had been extended, and it was so weird seeing the $99 up again, because it's been such a long time since we've seen the 99. It's
such a long time.
Yeah. But it's interesting what you were saying. It's like, you know, people are still gonna sign up for $99. I have a potential distributor who I've been talking to for a while, and she was very clear to me. It's like, I'm not going to be able to take advantage of the promotion because I don't get paid until this day. It's like, there's no way I'm going to be able to do it, but I'll pay the $100 because I see the opportunity. So those are the type of people that, you know, that are going to do very well, hopefully, in business, because they see the potential. They see, you know, they're buying a business for those $100. So for us who joined with $100, you know, it makes sense. And I'm so glad that you touched up on that, because for the people who didn't join with the $99, it's kind of like, how am I going to promote this? How am I going to sign up distributors for $99?
Right.
when you present the opportunity to them and how much, you know, you're going to get these products and you're going to do this and you're going to do that, you know, and it also kind of falls on us that we need to be educated on the potential of the business, and just kind of put it out there. Another thing that I wanted to ask you, we touched upon how, you know, about volume, host to post, non-negotiable things that you do to grow your business. How do you seal the deal? How do you personally seal that deal?
I think follow-up is critical. You cannot force people to order.
Right.
So you only have so much control over that, for sure. And there are some people who order quickly, and there are other people that take, you know, multiple months. And my process for all of those people is exactly the same. So it truly, again, it doesn't have as much to do with me as it does with them. And so, but I think, you know, there are some things that are critical, like when you're talking with people, always ask a question at the end so that they feel the need to answer it. And that's not hard to do, but if you don't ask, lots of times they don't volunteer information, and then you've got this dead conversation, and it's
Right.
like, what do I say next? And I know you said, you know, how often do I follow up? I will often follow up the next day. Like if I have sent information, even if I can see they haven't seen it, I will message again and say, hey, how did that sound? Or, hey, you doing okay? I just want to make sure those messages came through. Just to say, hey, by the way, I'm still here checking on you. But definitely I follow up. Fridays are big follow-up days for me. Now, I don't go all the way back to like November and follow up. I probably should, but I don't. But, you know, I definitely follow up with people within that week that I know were interested. And just like I said, just as a gentle reminder, hey, you know, are you still thinking about this? A message that Mira Denning sends that I love is, hey, I just wanted to check back with you. I know you were really excited about the Thermophyte X. Do you have other questions, or are you ready to place your order? Done. And, you know, lots of times they're going to respond to that, you know, either ask another question or I'm ready to place, or they'll say, you know, I don't have questions, but I can't order right now. I need to wait till I get paid. And then that's, you know, then that's when you write it down on your calendar so that you remember all that sort of stuff. But as far as sealing the deal, I think it's really important to be a human being and be able to be somebody that they can relate to, especially with host to post, because those people are people that don't know you from Adam. So, you know, it's good to ask what their goals are, just so, and lots of times they'll tell you before you ever ask, but just to create that sort of rapport with them so that they see that you care and you're not just a sale to them. Right. Another thing that has been huge for me, this is not so much about closing, but upselling. In January, I signed 98 loyal customers, which is insane. And I upsold absolutely not a one of them. And, you know, it was still like 3,000 BB that came in about, and a couple of them did on their own upsell. Don't ask me. I don't know. Again, it's not. Again,
that's insane.
The thing is sitting at conference when they talked about these $20 codes, immediately it's like God was like, and that's exactly why you just signed 98 customers, because then you're going to take, you know, a portion of them and turn them into distributors, and they're going to be amazing distributors. Like it's nuts how he, like, looking back, it's like, I see how you were working. I didn't see it at the time, but I got you now. I see. But in March, I think I signed, February was a low customer month for me because I was really focused on distributors. In March, I think I signed maybe 50, which I know is still a lot. I know it's still a lot, but the vast majority of them came in with 66 or higher BB.
Because
so the that I added in the month of March was between 5,000 and 6,000, even though I signed less people. And what I started doing was, you know, once either they were, because I got to be one of the testers for the shopping cart link. So I was able to use that through the month of March. And, you know, once either they wanted me to send the link or I was going to place the order for them, got their information. And then I said, you know, and again, personal development, you guys, because this message that I sent had little snippets of all different things that I've heard from other people. It said, let me tell you real quick while I get this order set up about something that most people are pairing with, and that was from Aspen Emery, who's not even with us anymore, are pairing with Thermophyte X that's enhancing the results even further. And I gave 2 sentences about the cleanse, 2 sentences about fat fighters. Does this sound like something you'd want to add? And so many people were like, yep, put it on there. And they never even asked me how much it cost. And I'm like, okay. And if they, and I never told them because they didn't ask.
Right.
Do not answer a question that is not asked of you. I have learned that because I used to word vomit all over the people. Excited puppy, peeing everywhere with my words. Do not answer the question that's not asked. And then if they asked how much it was, I would give an individual price for the cleanse and an individual price for fat fighters, because everybody can add. Because if you say it's going to be $109, people are like, what? But when you say it's 25 and 36, people are like, I can do that. And there you have it. And that has been huge for me. And clearly, you know, if it's somebody who's diabetic, the cleanse is not great for them. So in that case, I would recommend probably the greens. You know, coffee and chocolate greens is another great thing to add with the Mocha Dreams that pops up there as an option. So upselling has also been something that was critical, not just for me, but for teammates as well. It's fun to see, you know, in downline orders that aren't all 30 BB anymore, orders of 60 and 70 and 90 BB. So yeah. And the thing is, upselling was so hard for me because it sounded so about me. Like I'm trying to bring in volume. And it wasn't until after conference that I was like, it really is better for them, because they really are going to see different results when they start with a cleanse than if they just start popping the Thermophyte X.
Right.
So that was a process for me too. And I don't like the word upselling. I call it product packaging because I don't like the word upselling.
I love that. Yeah.
But that too was a mindset thing for me. And so, because it was hard for me to talk to my teammates about doing this when it didn't feel good to me. And so once it felt good to me, I could explain to them, like, and I didn't want to hold them back, but it was hard for me to find wording as to why we should do this. And then finally it clicked and I was like, duh, like you want to help people get the best results, and more products are going to do it. It's not about, you know, what BB is going in for us. It's their success. Right. And we know what's going to get them there. And they see us so much as experts. Yes. Okay, 1 minute. They see us so much as experts. Right. And it's so important to be that to people. And what you know will work, you tell them will work, and they're like, okay, let's do that. And there you have it.
It's so important, because again, we've seen so many before and after pictures, and a lot of the before and after pictures that are coming in now are probably a minimum of 3 products, you know, keto coffee, chocolate grains, and Thermophyte X, or fat fighters, you know, a combination of these products that we know work well alone, but when they're paired together, it's just insane results. So by simply saying, you know, if you want to get maximum results like these people and show them, you know, before and after, you know, I suggest you do this. There's people who are paying up to $200 for products. Yep. $200 for products, and maybe just like 1 or 2 products. And they pay for it because they're promised that they're going to get, you know, these insane results. So we have amazing products, and we just suggest it to them. You know, the worst that they can say is, no, I'll stick to just this one product.
Exactly.
You still have a sale.
Yes. It's important to already have them in for the order before you suggest the other things. And you're right. Nobody's going to say, oh, never mind, I don't want the vitamins now too because you suggested the other thing. Like, nobody says that, but that's what I was afraid of, which is a ridiculous fear. And if $109 sounds astronomical to you, if you break that down on a daily basis, it is like, seriously, it's like $3.20 a day. And I mean, legit, you're going to spend that at Starbucks.
Right.
Every day. So when you think about, like, what they're replacing with what we're giving them. Like, it's such a good value. It's such a good value. And they're going to earn like 10 perk points, $10 back on that.
Yeah.
That's going to add up quickly, and they can start adding on coffee or whatever once they've done their 3 months. So yeah.
That's so amazing. We're 5 minutes away from the hour, so let's. I don't want to keep everybody too long because I know you have your kiddos to get back to. So I guess we'll just go ahead and end this with one final thought. If you, I guess just it's like just inspire us, Amy. Anything you want to share with us? A bit of advice. Just anything. Just you have the next.
I think my best thing is to trust your journey, to trust the process, and embrace it, enjoy it. It's not going to be all rainbows and sunshine. Like, it's not. Expect that it's not. Don't call negativity to yourself, but just expect it. And when it gets hard, you guys, do not run from it. Don't quit. Just take quitting off the table, because if quitting is on the table for you, you are standing on the shore with one foot in the water and one foot on the sand. And it's always easier to quit. It's always easier to quit than it is to go through what might seem hard. But in my experience, what was the hardest? And guys, I'm talking face down in the floor. Like, my husband's salary lasts us the first half of the month. It works is the second half. I took on a position as the youth director at our church to make extra money. I would never in a million years have even considered that if my business had not fallen apart, and I know I was meant to take that position. Trust the journey. Trust that there are things in the hard parts that you are meant to learn that are going to serve you well as you continue on this journey. I asked my parents if we could move in with them, and fear that we were not going to be able to maintain a house payment. It was hard. It was really, really hard. I didn't tell my husband any of this at all, because I didn't want him to know, because I didn't want him to be stressed out. So the burden was painful. But I'm telling you, when you get there, and you'll get there, if you keep taking the actions that support your prayers, you will get there, and you will look back, and there won't be one day once you get there that you're like, dang, I wish I had stopped. I just wish I had quit back then. Because you won't, because it'll all be worth it, and it'll all make sense. And you'll start seeing, and you'll be like, oh, like I said, oh, I see what you were doing there. I see. Like, it all fell apart for me because I was not a good person. I was not ready to support a team. I was not ready to cheer my team on, because I was intimidated by getting passed in rank. I was intimidated by people being better than me. And now I could care less. Please pass me in rank. I will support you every second of the day. But it all had to be stripped away for me to see what I needed to change about myself before I was ready for more, because God's not going to give you more than you're ready for. He loves you too much to put you in a place where you cannot handle what he's given you. So trust the journey, even the hard parts. Learn to embrace the hard parts, because it's that part where you're going to grow the most and you're going to learn the most. And it's going to make the good parts that much better, because you're going to be your best self. So that's my, and take daily action, guys. Daily action. Consistency is everything in this business, because if you're not being consistent, you look fickle to your network, and nobody wants to be in a fickle business with anybody at all, ever. So daily consistent action is critical.
Thank you so much, Amy. I absolutely adore you. I love you. And thank you so much for pouring into us. It really does mean a lot to me. I'm going to stop the recording, but I don't want anybody to hop off just yet. So.